David, William Pearce, good to have you here. So this video is for you if you've ever felt like you had an experience that felt incredible, maybe a meditation, a retreat, an intimate connection, winning the big game, a spiritual high, a moment of clarity, something where everything suddenly felt peaceful, connected, or meaningful. And then the feeling faded. And you wondered, why can't I stay in that state? Why can't I live there forever? Why do I keep falling back into struggle? Am I doing something wrong? If you've ever had that kind of experience, that narrative, that story, then this teaching might be one of the most important things you hear on your spiritual lived journey. Because Tantra makes a very clear distinction between relief and freedom. And confusing the two is one of the biggest pitfalls on the path. It certainly has been for me. So let's get into it. Non-Dual Shaiva Tantra begins with a radical assertion. Every experience is an experience of God. Or, as Harish puts it in his book Tantra Illuminated, quoting scripture, Shiva is the substance of every experience whatsoever. Why? Because in this philosophy, God is defined as the unbounded light of consciousness. Everything that exists appears within experience, and every experience is pervaded by consciousness. So whatever is happening right now, this moment, exactly as it is as God as it gets. Not later, not after enlightenment, but now. It doesn't get more God than this. You don't get more God than you already are. This moment is as God as it gets. But divine does not mean free. Here's what Tantra introduces something very important. Just because your current experience is an expression of the divine doesn't mean that it's free. Freedom means something very specific. Freedom means actually experiencing the divinity in the moment, which means something very simple and rather radical. You no longer want the present moment to be different from the way it is already. Because the moment you stop resisting reality, you stop waiting for life to become better, and suddenly you are free to fully show up for what is happening right now. Freedom begins when you stop needing this moment to be any different than it already is. Here's the paradox. When you stop struggling with reality, something beautiful happens. You begin to experience the inherent joy of consciousness itself. Don't you, buddy? Yeah. Tantra calls this ananda. But ananda is not extreme happiness. No, it's more like a deep contentment, a loving acceptance of the moment. And it appears naturally when resistance dissolves. But, and this is crucial, ananda is not the goal of the path. It is a byproduct. And that is the trap of spiritual highs, one of the biggest traps of the spiritual path. And it's confusing. The byproducts of realization with that which produces them. You have a powerful experience. You feel joy, peace, expansion, and then you think, that's what I need to get back to. And you start chasing that state. But the moment you chase the experience, you no longer abide in freedom, because now you're resisting the present moment again. The pursuit of spiritual highs is not the path of yoga, not tantric yoga, not any yoga. The moment bliss becomes the goal, delusion begins again. Radical freedom is not an experience, it's not a state of mind, it can't be, because experiences come and go, they're fleeting. Freedom is something deeper. Freedom is the total surrender of grasping, a complete opening to reality as it is. And when that happens, something extraordinary appears. Joy arises naturally, not because you created it, but because resistance to it has dissolved. And this joy, this ananda, becomes a kind of feedback mechanism. It tells you that your seeing is clear, that your grasping has softened. But again, it is not the goal. I cannot state this enough, not just for you, but also for me. The real goal of the path is truth. Because when truth becomes your aim, more bliss than you could imagine naturally arises as a byproduct. Let me give it an example to help this land. There is likely something in your life available to you that brings you relief from what's going on in your life. Maybe it's smoking, drinking, arguing, scrolling, sex, masturbation, whatever it is. When you indulge in it, it gives you this moment of relief. Your nervous system settles, and for a few minutes, moments, or maybe more, that problem, life's challenges, cease to exist. You enjoy time and timelessness, a respite from lived reality. That feeling of relief, joy, whatever it is, it feels great. But relief isn't resolution. The problem is still there, even if for those moments your focus was elsewhere. When we start reaching for relief instead of resolution, we can start grasping after it, building an identity around it, and even getting lost in the source. So if there is one thing to remember from this teaching, it's this. The greatest pitfall on the spiritual path is confusing the byproducts of realization with the truth that produces them. Make true seeing your goal, not happiness, not bliss, not spiritual highs or experiences, but truth. Because the moment truth becomes your aim, the path shortens dramatically, timelines collapse, and reality shifts. So if this teaching has stirred something in you, even subtly, there's a full quiz linked in the description to support your integration in what we've explored. You can take the quiz, and if you'd like the answers, you can get them completely free. Simply there to help you with these teachings so that they can land more deeply and you can collapse those timelines. If you feel called to go deeper into this work, you can work with me one-on-one, both online and in person, through clarity articulation sessions at the Relationship OS Alignment Clinic. It's a 90-minute structured conversation designed to help you clearly articulate the underlying pattern shaping a situation in your life. Using the clarity protocol, we map the loop, expose the governing belief, and define a clear next step forward. This work is designed for thoughtful people who are ready to interrupt a recurring internal pattern and implement change over a 30-day period. I've used this on myself. It's work I've built upon from Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza and David Bayer and more. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, you can find the link to a free mapping diagnostic in the description so you can understand your loops as a step towards breaking free of them. If nature is something that interests you, then tantric trekking retreats are a way to enjoy a deep reset. And if you're in partnership, Tiffany and I offer contact massage, a 3-hour guided journey to deepen into intimacy, to connect beyond language. And if you want to master intimacy and relationship as a spiritual path, you can join the Sex Prayers Institute of Intimacy. All the details for this can be found in the description. If this path resonates with you, welcome. And I'll see you in the next transmission. Cheers.